The best performer is the most authentic performer. And authentic meaning whatever I am feeling, it is my obligation to project that in movement, in emotions, in intention on the stage. And that's how you make a memorable performance. Memorable performances will always be winning pieces. And it's less about the clinking of a medal, and I'll say this over and over again, it's really about the experience that you have that you can create for others. It is not the job of a spectator or an audience member to come in here with expectations of what this is supposed to look like. They literally come in with an empty canvas. It is your job to paint it for them.
You're listening to The Aerial Hour, episode number 23. The Aerial Hour is a traveling podcast where I interview aerial entrepreneurs from all corners of our industry on how they grow and sustain their businesses. Hey there, friends. Thanks for tuning into this episode of The Aerial Hour. I'm your traveling host, Tara, and I am currently joining you from the Poconos. If you're new to this podcast, welcome. The show focuses on interviewing professionals from the aerial industry on how they've grown and sustained their businesses. Our goal is to reach all corners of the industry while sharing actionable steps you can take in your own business. Before I get to today's interview, let me share a couple of things with you first. Starting with today's episode, I'm going to be sharing a review of the week. Not only do your reviews help others find us more easily, they also make our entire week every time we receive them. So today's review comes from Clack. They say, as an outsider, I've fallen in love with this community through Tara's podcast. I wish my yoga or gym communities were this supported. Without exception, the entrepreneurs on this show all seem to have the same goal. Whether they create beautiful shoes, provide a safe place to learn and grow, train other women, compete on the road, take stunning photos, or air all of these special stories, they all want to build other people up, show them love and acceptance, teach them to honor themselves, and increase their confidence. I couldn't pull myself away. Well, we couldn't pull ourselves away from reading your review either, Clack. Thank you so much for sharing your review with us. If you'd like your review featured on our next episode, hop over to Apple Podcast or Facebook and drop us a line. Next up is this episode's sponsor, Jeannie and Jade. Jeannie and Jade create fierce designs to reveal your inner self. Designs include resin arts, keychains, decals, and more. The owner, Kristen, is seriously talented at creating stunning designs and super fun content on her Instagram page, so you should definitely check it out. You can also become one of her pole babes where you'll receive special discounts, be the first to know about new launches, and more. And remember, the holidays are right around the corner. Her items would make the perfect gift for all the aerialists in your life. Head over to Jeannie and Jade on Etsy or Instagram, and I'll also link to everything in the show notes at theaerialhour.com. And now on to today's guest. Today's interview features none other than Crystal Belcher. If you aren't familiar with Crystal's work, I highly suggest you stop whatever you're doing, including listening to the show, and look her up. Crystal is a pole dance instructor, traveling artist pre-COVID, MC, coach, event creator, works with PSO, and is all around just an amazing human being. During this episode, we talk about how she discovered pole dancing, competing, how COVID has affected her business, and dealing with race in our industry. If you want to know more about this particular episode, you can head over to theaerialhour.com and check out our show notes. And make sure to follow us on Instagram so you can stay up to date with where we're heading to next. I think I've covered everything, and I cannot wait to share this interview with you. So, Phil, do the thing. Thank you for joining me for another episode of The Aerial Hour. Today I am somewhere else, and I am in Houston, finally. And I am at Revolve Pole Studio with Crystal Belcher. How are you doing today?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm good. Thank you so much for having me here.
I'm glad we finally got it together.
Yes. This was supposed to happen pre-COVID. I think we talked at Mr. Pole Dance America
in New Orleans
back in January.
We
and
did.
I was like so ready to get on the road and just hit it. And then then I think couple weeks later is when COVID started happening. So it's now June.
Look at that.
Yeah. And I'm here now, so that's all that matters, apparently.
We made it.
Yeah.
We made it.
So thank you so much for inviting me into this beautiful space. I want to just ask you, how long have you been dancing for?
So I've been moving since I was an itty bitty. I can't necessarily tell you the exact year. I don't recall it. I just know that I was an avid seeker of those who did move. So whether it was in physical form at a show, if it was at school and neighborhood, but very much so in music videos. I am a child of MTV. And then once BET came out, I also was a real big Disney fan. And it's funny because I am not into musicals very much, so I'm very selective about which ones I like. But movies like Fantasia really excited me because all of the colors, all of the interpretations of animals, simulating what we would see on stage, taking like a cute little Easter dress and making it a tutu or feeling it was that way. So that's how I kind of started when I was younger. As I grew up, I aligned myself with opportunities in school or in extracurricular activities that encompassed dance in all forms. And then in college, I took dance like electives because I couldn't take it as a minor. Because Dean was like, there are no minors in dance. There's only majors. I said, but not how the curriculum is set up.
What did you go to school for?
So I went to Howard University in Washington, D.C., and I graduated with a bachelor's in communications, emphasis on radio, television, film, and I was a radio
nice.
chick. Yes. So being behind the mic is relatively comfortable.
Okay, very cool.
Yeah, and then pole came into my life. It sneak peeked around 2007, 2008, saw it in some ads for a local studio in DC at the time.
Okay.
But I couldn't get my life and my schedule together to make it to any classes. But the moment I came back home, a few months in starting to work with CBS Radio at the time, a cohort was doing PR for a local studio. And she was like, you should come. And it's been pole ever since.
Yeah. What about it immediately hooked you? I mean, I'm sure it's pretty,
It was death defying.
Yeah. Yes.
And it's funny, as my life progressed in movement, whether it was in artistry or athleticism, pole had this ability to merge the two. So I was able to bring back to life what I was once imagining I could be watching the TV screen. Not even on just because at that time Cirque du Soleil wasn't really a thing, but circuses of our time were the high-flying acts and the ability to just fly and defy gravity. Pole was able to present that opportunity for me. And since I was no longer cheerleading or a cheer coach in my university, once I came home, I just needed an outlet that could speak to me where I could still do a sport but still be able to express myself through dance, and pole was able to marry those two desires that I had.
Very cool. Yeah. You mentioned the cheerleading. You were a cheerleading coach?
I was cheerleader and a cheerleading coach at Howard University.
Okay.
Yeah.
How many years did you do that for?
I cheered, what was it, 2-3 years, and then I became the assistant coach because I felt that at that particular time, even though I was still a fairly gifted performer, I was noticing that there was a need for a leader, especially a female leader. So it was a gentleman named Spencer and we were actually stunt partners when I was cheerleading. And he was working on staff at university, and he was like, we need a new person because all of our past coaches are gone. He decided to bring me on. I said, I could be better in this position than actually being on the team. Now, when homecoming comes, I do get my ass out there, and it is a situation, and it's great, it's high energy. But yeah, it was the beginning of the nurturing and the teaching aspect that I still carry on till today.
Very cool. Yeah. Do you think that also being a cheerleader lended itself to performing as a whole?
It did, and especially for me, and I can't necessarily say that for everyone else, because the pole does, it warps you into these different universes, and you're just like, I don't know what's happening.
Right.
But for Crystal, it just made complete and utter sense to me. So being able to marry, and I'm going to use this word a lot, the acrobatic styles that we would use in cheerleading, from like handstands and handsprings, and being able to be trusting of various heights. So as a flyer, you're always being tossed in the air if you so choose and you're comfortable with your particular group. So being able to go up 12, I remember one of my performances, we had like a 22-foot pole, and I was comfortable in going that high, which is insane.
Yeah.
But I've been thrown that high. So to have an apparatus that I can control at all times.
Yeah.
Definitely lessens the fear. And then what else happened? When you go to an HBCU, cheerleaders are not just your stop and go style. So it's not always hard hits. There's going to be some fluidity about it.
Oh, okay.
There's battling that always happens.
Okay.
And then you get to dance it out. And not just your regular like 5-6 varsity style cheering, but you get to bust a move.
Okay.
Which HBCUs that you won't necessarily see with other institutions. So it's us just tapping into our natural style movement and then just adding some finesse. So some people will liken it to Bring It On, but it's on an entirely different scale. Like, it is more flamboyant and it's more entertaining.
Yeah.
So when we played like Rutgers or University of Las Vegas or Georgetown, seeing those schools come and see us and be like, we were not ready.
Right.
Like, okay, you might be able to do these stunts or whatever, but like just the meshing of movements and being able to move in and out of the different styles and interpretation of what cheer could be. Other schools were just like, yo, this is madness. I'm here for everything. We just want to sit and watch.
Yeah.
Like, oh, God.
Yeah. So tonight, my YouTube poll that I'll be going into will be these videos now. Thank you. That's amazing. And I can see like that crowd engagement. Like that is something that stands out to me about you and Shay as well.
Yeah.
But like you have such an ability to engage with crowds. And I imagine that some of that comes from there.
Totally. You have to feel like a fool.
Right.
That is a rule of thumb. Even when I was cheering as a youngin', they say if you don't feel like a clown or if you don't feel like a fool, then you're not doing it big enough. You need to be able to not only attract the attention of the people who are in the front row, but the people who are all the way up top in the balconies who really don't give a fuck.
Yeah.
And when the crowd is, trying to figure out what they're going to do and you're turned around to give yourself a break, you also have to engage with the sideline players. And either you can be their first line to cheering and encouragement, or you can also be the front line to be like, yo, you are not shit. Like, go in.
Right.
They're trying to hold us back from going to rip their heads off for not making the play correctly. And then, sometimes when there's a literal melee on the ground, we kind of like, you gonna get in or not?
Yeah. All right, so this, which we talked about a little bit before the interview, that multitasking. It's like in ya.
Look,
right?
it's you play multiple roles as a cheerleader.
That's awesome.
It's great.
At what point, so you were dancing, and then when did you start competing? How long were you dancing, just as a pole student or an instructor?
So I had 3 classes in 2009, started in November, and then once 2010 came in, I pretty much was in the studio maybe 2 to no more than 4 times a week, just depending on like what can I afford.
Right.
The studio at that time had a deal that was going on, $10 for every class.
Oh, wow.
They had an open level schedule, so you can come in and just jump into whatever level you had. You had a sheet you would mark off like what you learned.
What year is this?
This is 2010. This is January 2010.
Okay.
This is when we started to get into the thing.
Right.
And my first competition was in October of 2010.
Okay.
We had gotten word that Miss Texas Pole Star was happening, and it was a Texas-based competition, the first of its kind here. And again, it was just to highlight those Texan polers who just wanted to showcase what they had. The owner of the studio, Revolve, Jacqueline Santos, is when we first made our introduction to each other. And I was, shitting bricks. But everyone's journey is a little bit different. So my first competition was 10 months in, or rather 8 months in. Let's take that back. That was the first one. And then 2 months later, I got into another one, and that was in Atlanta. in relation with Vertical Joes.
Okay.
So that was my first introduction to the Vertical Joe family. And I didn't place in either of those, but in Atlanta, what was really resounding for me was the award of like judges' favorite and most creative performer.
Okay.
So I was like, oh, well, I did my job. This is great. Here for all the things. And I felt accomplished. But after that, I wanted to just take a moment to just reevaluate what life was doing and if competition was something I was really digging. And I started choreographing.
Okay.
So I choreographed our studio owner here and another young lady, rest in peace. Both of them were getting ready for Pole Star. Yes. So the first young lady, who's gone now, Susie, her thing was, if I'm going and I'm going in this master's division, I'm going to win. Okay, that's fine. Let's work on your expertise, my dear. So there was a lot of cleaning. There was a lot of ebb and flow. There was a lot of vulnerabilities we had to get through. There was a lot of fighting that she did. And I'm like, honey, let's go. But
as a good coach.
Right. And I was here for her. Yeah. And luckily, once we got to that stage, she got it. It was jitters and all the things. She was about to quit. And she did an amazing job. And she got to walk away with a title. Yeah. Working with Jackie. Maybe it wasn't even competition. I think it was just performing. We had a Girls Next Door event, which was a Kelly Yvonne production. I had a piece. She had a piece. Her piece got voted one of the top performances, and they brought it back again. She ended up submitting that performance to compete in Canada. I think we did do this in Miss Texas Pole Star next year as well. I think she got like second in Miss Texas Pole Star. She did well in Canada, got to the major Canadian competition. She did well in both of those. So once we did all those competitions, it came down to, yo, Crystal, when are you gonna get back on stage? And 2012 happened. I said, fine. And that's when this award started just coming out of nowhere.
Okay. And what about competing do you love?
The goal.
Okay.
Early on, you always go to win.
Right.
And that's any competition. I think any athlete, any artist is going to tell you the same thing. You don't get into a competition just to go there and shoot the shit. You really go in there with the mindset of, I have a possibility of really walking out of this thing with a placement, so that's what I'm going to work towards. So where in the beginning it was more so about, medaling, because medaling was associated with power in the pole industry, if you will. And there were very few competitions that were going on. It's literally maybe like 2 handfuls that's going on around the world for the most part. So if you got medaled, you were on the fast track to, instructing and workshopping.
Instant visibility.
Yeah. But once I got through those first couple competitions, so 2 of them where I didn't place, took a break, saw that I was creating winners, hitting back the stage, it was proof to say, you are still valid. You have something to say. It's time to go shut shit down.
Yeah.
And my very first competition with Miss Pole, on the second go round of Miss Texas Pole Star, Shay gifted me with privates with Phoenix. So we were able to collaborate with one another to create my first Aretha Franklin composition. That's when I had the afro and the fringes. And it was a great moment. Phoenix definitely opened the door on how much further I could go in movement theory. And she knew that I had the star quality on stage. She just wanted to push me differently and harder in my movement quality. And that was amazing because I just didn't have that information readily available to me. So to have her in my back pocket was amazing, and it continued to go forward. So I enjoy the anxiety that I get, because if you don't get those bubble guts, if you don't get the shivers and the doubts, then you don't really have, much to give on the stage. So regardless if it's a showcase performance or even a competition, I still get jitters. Like, those never go away. People are like, you got this. I'm always like, I'm gonna forget. The music just stopped. what happened?
I'm gonna
What's the
fly
first
off.
step? We're gonna fly off stage. Pole's gonna come down. It's crazy. But the nerves are a great benefit to me because, like I said, they show that I have something that's valuable and is worth telling that story. But yeah, I think that's about it.
Yeah. Talking about building choreography for other people, was there something you mentioned that like you had in place and then you saw that you were building routines that were winning? Was there anything that you like put your finger on that where you were like, what am I doing differently for these people that I'm not doing for myself?
So it is very easy for me to see magic. This is one of my classes, magic in their mistakes. So they'll be dismissive or feel down about the fact that they didn't do it the way in which I explained it or what they're thinking in their head. But for me, that's actually a starting point. I'm like, okay, you didn't do this, but your body said to do this. So maybe it's time to experiment differently with your body and see if that feels good. And then we go through a couple of, okay, choose A, choose B. A and B don't work? Amazing, let's go to C. So what I gathered from building with them, not only helping them use their words and enhancing their vision, is I found that it is okay to not do the norm. I shouldn't have to create a composition that is going to look the exact same as everyone else. Every person that I've worked with has a different gift, and I wanted to be able to showcase that so that they feel as if they're a standalone character. And that's something I wanted to always have within myself. So just finding different ways of movement, being able to strategize and look at the rest of competition and saying, we don't have to do this because this is already being done by everyone else. Let's go the opposite route. Pulling back. So having ambitions of doing great things, but being able to build around it with some simplistic core fundamentals that we can like fuck with. If you will.
Yeah.
So continue to like, okay, so remember this dip turn? Boom, this dip turn is gonna turn us into this, and then it's gonna rewind us to this, and gonna throw you there. And it's just funny how my mind can just go that quickly, and they're just like, I never saw that. I'm like, yay.
So then were you able to translate that to your own practice? Yeah.
And then taking the stress off of them. I'm like, it's okay. Like, we have a goal of winning.
Right.
But what else do you want to accomplish with this goal? Yeah. People kind of get into their heads like, oh, I want to change physically. I'm like, you will change physically.
Right.
The more disciplined you are. So if you come in here, you're stretching, you're conditioning, you're running the routine over and over again, your body is going to change without you having to do anything extra. And focusing on your diet is always a thing, but you got to listen to what your body wants and what your body needs, whether that's rest or to go ahead and push. And then a major conversation we have is, what do you want to say at the end of the day? So I don't want you just to get on the stage just because you can and because you have the will, the power, the encouragement, the authority to go in there and try to take first. But I need you to be able to walk away with that moment and feel like you left a part of you on stage. So with that being said, it's like, well, what story are you trying to tell? Do you just want to be cute on stage? That's fine. But do you want to be memorable? I'd rather you be memorable. And then maybe that gets you a win. But you'll win within yourself because you know you've achieved something and it felt authentic to you on a stage. So working with them helped me really gravitate to putting that back in my life. And that changed my whole perspective of worrying about getting a medal as opposed to being a memorable performer.
And this is like 2012, right? And then we come to 2013's performance at the Tropicana.
Yeah, in Las Vegas.
So, I mean, I just get chills. But one of the things that I read when doing a bit of research, and something that's always stood out to me about you, is this ability to create these emotions on stage that people really connect with, like really, really connect with. How do you cultivate that?
The best performer is the most authentic performer. And authentic meaning whatever I am feeling, it is my obligation to project that in movement, in emotions, in intention on the stage. And that's how you make a memorable performance. Memorable performances will always be winning pieces. And it's less about the clinking of a metal, and I'll say this over and over again, it's really about the experience that you have that you can create for others. It is not the job of a spectator or an audience member to come in here with expectations of what this is supposed to look like. They literally come in with an empty canvas. It is your job to paint it for them. And you also have to give them license to figure out what that canvas is going to end up looking like. My story looks like my story, but as long as they walk away with a story that is inspired by your movement, that means that you did the job, that you had a conversation in that audience, and they were able to feed you that energy so that you can give it back to them. So it should always be a reciprocal type of conversation going on in that space, whether it's in the darkness or whether you can actually see someone in the space. But it'll only happen if you are vulnerable to the stage and allow yourself to purge everything that you have.
I just feel like I need to take a moment and digest that. That was so good. That's so true. And it does make a memorable performance. It really, if you can connect to it. Do you have any tips for somebody that's looking to like add more emotion and connect more on stage?
Because as artists, we have the ability to not only speak our voices, but speak the voices of others, and then interpret what we see in real life and be able to translate that into our own personal movements. The goal is to like listen to the little voices, listen to the goosebumps that come, to the heart palpitations that you have. Think about the sounds, the taste, the touch. Grab all of those sensory mechanisms and be able to create movement that gives you that same energy, or find the song that gives you that same energy and be able to find the movements that can create the message for that, if that makes sense.
No, that definitely makes sense. Yeah. Definitely makes sense. And talking about competing, going right into talking about judging. So you work with PSO. Can you tell me about that relationship?
Of course. So currently I am the judge wrangler for PSO, and of course I have some others on my team as well. They're going to be amazing once Outside open again. But I'm like your primary, your most tenured judge wrangler on staff. So a judge wrangler not only wrangles the cattle of the judges to find their seats in a timely manner, you're encouraging them to judge in a timely manner, to be verbose, honest, but complimentary to our performers so that they can feel valid and valuable in their space when they get those receipts back, if you will, but also have a chance to learn from their moment on the stage. What else do I have? I'm dealing with software and technical problems of computers. So I'm a little tech geek in that aspect. And all the team of PSO are first aid, AED, CPR. But I'm the front line, if you will, because I am in-house. Okay. So if it's not me, then it's operation manager or anyone else who can run to that stage and tend to our people. We make sure we take care of our competitors. And then how did I get in with PSO? So I was the first champion of PSO Southern, and Southern was introduced in Houston, to be exact. And I won with the Aretha Franklin piece. That was your fun. And I did another dramatic piece that was really nice that also walked away with the first place win. And then from there, me and Shay were just like, we love the machine that PSO has the ability to be. So we were hollering at Amy and just like, so where y'all going next? Because we're coming. And she's like, all we need is to be fed and a place to sleep. That's all we want. Right. It's just the ability for us to get on a plane and go travel to other cities because we ain't got other shit to do. Right. So we would spend umpteen hours, and at this time, it's maybe like a 4-person team making that work. So have 2 extra hands who are all about it. Shay is logistics, like that's what she does in her real life. And then I'm a creative, and I'm also seeing how things move within the space because that's where I'm always. Right. And being able to just have us on deck was a great benefit to her. And we just kept doing the shit if our schedules allowed it. Fast forward into new age PSO, where now the ass is out. We can be more provocative on stage, say more. Venues are accepting of us in all these forms. Amy decided to let's make this a full throttle family. It's time to pay you for your worth. And we became on staff. So
Awesome.
We have a whole crew that handles it. It's usually around 8 of us.
Wow.
Well, anywhere from like 6 to 8, just depends on the number of the show.
Right.
That and number of competitors, more so, on who we're gonna have to come, and we knock it out.
Yeah.
It's magic and menace backstage to get the beauty that is PSO consistent, not only in the States, but actually in Europe as well, where our other team is. Mm-hmm.
So with PSO, you guys are traveling around we're traveling around the country pretty,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, there was multiple events happening throughout the year.
Mm-hmm.
So that's a lot,
Totally.
right?
Yeah, we have like almost we were upping towards 25 shows.
Wow.
A year, and this is why our team expanded.
Yeah.
So you have your A team, if you will, and A team is literally just those who are the most tenured on the squad, who pretty much, if anyone has a problem, for the most part, everybody on the staff can troubleshoot.
Okay.
And we're back on team, and then all the additional people that we have are just coming right in, doing the same type of job. So, because we're all independent contractors in our own right for the most part, and a few of them have full-time gigs.
Okay.
So we just have a round-robin team that's able to come in and come out whenever we need to. And the same thing for Europe. If Europe they don't have anyone on that team who can make that particular show, they'll reach out to the American team and vice versa to see who's available.
That's nice. Mm-hmm. That's nice to have that team building.
Totally, an excuse to travel if we can. 'Cause we're fighting for it.
Yeah, I bet. Any chance, I totally get that.
Look.
And I'm guessing this kind of lends well to creating your own competition.
Mm-hmm.
So how long had you been working with, just even volunteering with PSO
So
when you started Melee?
I started right before 2012 because Melee started in 2011. Melee on the Bayou, Houston's premier pole dance competition, was actually a feeder into Miss Texas Pole Star.
Okay, very cool.
So we would have our competition in November. Miss Texas Pole Star would happen in October. So whomever the November winners were, they pretty much had up to about 9-10 months, and maybe like 8 to 10 months to get their lives together to hit the stage for Miss Texas Pole Star.
Very cool.
Because again, we were at that point very grassroots. It's all about Houston. We wanted to make sure that Houston was representing when we went to Dallas to represent for Miss Texas Pole Star.
And I mean, Texas is like huge.
So
it makes sense. And like I think about like Australia, how they do Miss Pole Dance Australia. They have the different heats that go into the main one. So something similar. Gotcha.
Yeah, so we were trying to create that same energy. And I just saw how Miss Texas Pole Star was running from its meager beginnings and then pushing to a larger stage. I'm like, yo, we can do that same thing in Houston, and I can build us so that we can go in there ripping shit up, because I'm in Houston to the day that I die, so I'm biased. And then once Miss Texas Pole Star had dissolved, and more so went on a hiatus, I asked Amy, was it okay if Melee could be a feeder into PSO? The great benefits is that I've been on the PSO stage. I can attest to how professional, how consistent, and the feels what it like to be in that particular competition, as well as just, have another excuse to come and play with the PSO team wherever they are. And they were totally down for it. I even asked them on the legalese side, is it okay to adopt some of their writings for the show to do the same thing? And they were like, yeah, because again, it's a benefit for both parties. I'm feeding more people from Texas, and they have a means to expand their network for the stage, and this is just more people coming into the PSO family, is what I like to say.
If only we would all think like that. So you start Melee, and how did you? So it started in Houston. You're connected in Houston. How did you find that first event space? I feel like sometimes going out into the real world, it's pole can be a little divisive.
Totally.
And so this was what year, 2011 you said? So in 2011.
Yeah, 11.
Okay, really? Awesome. In 2011, you start this competition. How do you find that first space?
So I was under a very tight budget. And
because it costs a lot of money to put these competitions together.
And this is something to tell everyone who's out there considering hosting major showcases, opening a studio, wanting to do your own competition just because you want to be different, quote unquote. You are literally doing this, and don't take this the wrong way, for yourself, meaning you're putting in your own money. There is not much profit that's going to be turned back. Usually the amount of money that comes back to you is money that you are paying yourself back for those initial investments. But I still do it because it's bigger than me, and it's an opportunity to allow the spaces or the institutions that we have in the city and beyond a stage, because many of our studios don't have the luxury of space or square footage like we have at Revolve. We have a large room and we have a small room, and we can afford to have our own showcases here in our large space. But most places or most pole studios are quaint, they are intimate, and everyone just necessarily can't afford a stage to give their students. So Melee was that ability, was that option to give them. And another way for all of us studios to actually meet and greet and talk, and our students can intermingle, they can learn about what other studios offer. Because again, the beauty of pole is that you don't have to stay with one family. You can move around to find expertise at every level, especially if your studio doesn't offer it. Nevertheless, how did I find a space? I wanted to be Black owned because, I'm Black. And I wanted to support the community. And at the time, it was at Grooves, which is a bar and restaurant here in Houston.
Smart.
Super.
I like the food idea. That's
drinks.
Alcohol.
Look, because the energy's got to stay high. So drinks need to be bought and bellies need to be full. So that was a priority. And then after experiencing Mixed Texas Pole Star and seeing the length of that show and how late it went to the night, my next priority was I don't want to be in a venue really past 9 o'clock. I want people to have the ability to still be lively. They can stay at the space and drink and eat, or they can go out to dinner, be congratulated for all of their goodness, or they can literally go home, go to sleep, and make it to church the next day, or for classes too. And even us, we started to do workshops after the first year. So we wanted to have that ability where you can get some enrichment after you perform and give all you got on stage.
Because those judges, oh my God.
Because the judges,
seriously.
I love them.
Okay, sorry, go ahead.
No, it's fine. But yeah, I was able to, and this is something that you can ask anybody, especially with showcases, if a bar and lounge has the type of space that you need, and I actually had to find a welder to build my mounting system, which was amazing at the time. Find a space that is already open at night, but you have the ability to come in before them. So they tend to give you a really, really low base rate. And if it's times where back of the house is gonna already be in that space just prepping for the night, you can negotiate that I'm gonna have this set amount of people who are gonna want these amount of things, i.e. Liquor and food. They're gonna spend about this much money because they're gonna be in here for about 4 hours. Because we're seated, we're gonna be entertained. And these people can have the option to stay later if they want. So you're gonna get money on top of money. So at that particular time with that particular management, she was like down for the cause. Rate was hella low, which I was appreciative of. We tried it on a Friday night at first, which was a crazy idea because it was going on during happy hour, which is one of their major nights on Fridays.
Okay, that makes sense.
But we had the screens going, so I had a video being shot towards the stage so people in the back could actually see what was going on. Bar, food is rocking, new people are coming into the space, that was kind of crazy. But it was amazing. And what happened is once she did her books at the end of the year, she was like, yo, you are the only event out of the course of the year where we make just as much money as we make at night.
Wow.
So any outside entity did not pull in that type of money that we did prior to or in the course of their evening. So she was like, let's build this relationship. And that was amazing. And the management has shifted. So it was time for us to move. We finally found Numbers, which is our current home. And Numbers is in the Montrose area. It's where kind of Midtown shifts into another part of the city or another neighborhood. And this neighborhood is primarily known for our LGBTQIA family. They've been there since, I want to say, the 70s.
Wow.
It's very dive, but they have an eclectic amount of shows that they do. So they can do magic shows. On Tuesday night is kink night, so you can go and learn you some new educations about different ties and different apparatus, you know, things to get your relationship popping. They'll have hip hop, rock, indie shows.
Nice.
They'll do classic like throwback parties and EDM, whatever you can name. If you want it, they got it.
Okay.
But what was amazing about it is that it was a lifted stage, so you really didn't have to have projectors, but we did. So we still offered that. The stage is bigger and more consistent.
Okay.
So it's a pie.
Okay.
Nevertheless, the performers liked it because they had a definitive stage. It wasn't offset like our last space. We had 2 bars, and then this time I was able to, even though Numbers isn't a Black-owned facility, I'm still able to utilize local vendors.
Right.
Both inside the space as well as our food truck outside.
Okay.
And we have the whole gamut. So they're just like, just let us know. I'm like, we're here at 7 o'clock in the morning, open the doors. This is all you got. Do what you need. And then it's a quick, we break down in like 30 minutes or less. And this is shifting to their nightclub. And it's great because it's the same things for them. They are making money on top of money during hours that they normally would not, and they have to do minimal work.
Right.
Long-winded story. Sorry.
No. That's like what a beautiful marriage, and something that people might not consider is using a bar. No, that makes total sense.
Yeah.
The energy of the crowd. So you and Shay host the show, correct?
We do.
Okay.
Well, I haze her.
You haze her.
I do.
And you guys maintain energy. Like what stood out to me in watching the videos, aside from the amazing different divisions that you have, like Incredibles, what stood out to me is the amount of crowd energy that you could hear in the videos.
Oh, it's on purpose. Yes.
So I just want to, you guys do such a great job of maintaining that, and I could feel it just watching YouTube videos.
Good.
So can't wait for the next one. I noticed so you do have different divisions.
Correct.
And can you just tell me which divisions you guys currently have?
Totally.
Because they do rotate somewhat, right?
Yeah. So there's the Houston-based divisions, and then there's the nationwide. And the next time we'll bring it back, I think we're gonna I'm gonna add Canada and Mexico to it, because I know it's too much for someone out the country to come, but Canada and Mexico are really easy, and they're our neighbors. Nevertheless, the Houston-based ones are your normals. So they're the more technical based, so we want them to be all around performers.
Okay.
You have your novice, your intermediate, your advanced levels, and they're called Supremes, Extremes, and Incredibles.
I love that.
And we create the names for the sake of just giving them good energy before they even come to the stage. We didn't want them to feel like a beginner is basic. Like, no, like you can be a beginner but still be out here ripping the space. And it's very similar to the PSO model.
Okay.
Yeah. A Supreme would be like level 1, 2.
Okay.
An Extreme would be 3, 4, and then your Incredibles would be like 4, 5.
Okay.
Then you have the Masters. Masters are our 40 and up seasoned polar bears, and they're in open level.
Okay.
But for the most part, majority of people who get into Masters are usually your intermediate expertise. And then we have the Studio Showdown. And Studio Showdown is an inexpensive way for studios to come out here and show their ass.
Okay.
So there's no more than 4. It's a group competition. You can also be a solo if you want to represent, but it's only 4 of them. No more than 4 persons. They can be of mixed gender.
Okay.
Just have to be 18 and over.
Okay.
And it's just about how well you put on the show.
Okay.
Yeah, that's really it. Now, for the outside, which anybody from the Houston area and beyond can be a part of. So we have freestyle. We have liquid motion floor. We have electric chair, which is our chair competition, and then we have Southern fried curves, which is for our voluptuous kittens and man meat.
I just want to take a bite out of that.
Yeah,
that sounds delicious.
And they are.
Yeah. The freestyle.
Yes.
So people just come on stage, you put on a song,
Look.
and then they go, right?
Look, they are scared for their lives.
Yeah.
The beauty of freestyle for us is that we give them up to, I think, 5 or 10 seconds to like just breathe.
Okay.
And then take the song in.
Okay.
And it's funny how they don't take the opportunity to start off stage and make an appearance.
Okay.
They always start on stage.
Yeah.
And I'm like, the least you can do is turn your back to the audience so you can have a moment. But, you let them go through the things and deal with it. We're pretty methodical about the songs in which we choose. So freestyle means any competitor can come on the stage. If they are chosen to compete, they have 2 minutes and 30 seconds to rock the crowd. It's an open level, so you can be a novice or you can be an advanced poler. Doesn't matter, because the songs can throw you off your game. It's really about who has the best stage presence and performance value of thing. The audience gets to vote on who they like.
How does that work?
They get to vote online. So we'll give them like a code. They'll go in. They'll put who they like.
Is that pretty? I'm sorry. Is that pretty easy to set up?
I mean, I'll go on the Facebook page or Instagram. I'll put the Google form link. They'll go in, vote, and then I'll read them at the end of the night once we're doing the scoring at those points. So whomever gets the most points gets 4.
Okay.
And then it goes from there.
Okay.
So top person, if you got first, get 4 points. 3,
That's
2, 1.
so simple.
And it adds to the sum of the score that the judges will give you.
Okay.
So every little point makes a difference.
Right. And for freestyle, for instance, what are the judges voting on or
same
judging?
thing?
Okay.
Heavy on the artistic percentage of the score, and then technique is pretty much the apples and oranges, like who do we prefer? If everybody was star quality on stage, okay, now we got to go to technique to see how we separate.
I appreciate that.
The strategy when picking the songs. So we try to pick all the genres. So we pick 10 songs for up to 5 competitors.
Okay.
We give those songs to the DJ, and the DJ only sees like track 1, track 2, track 3.
Okay.
And he doesn't even know, or she doesn't even know what track is going to be played. So they're just clicking at random. But we try to pick a country track, a pop track, a hip hop, maybe ratchet track, maybe classical. We'll do like folklore or world music. We'll pick songs that are trending.
Okay.
A throwback that everybody can understand, the audience. And maybe like a hot karaoke song.
Okay.
Because again, you want the audience engaged. You want them to be like, oh, that's my jam. I remember this.
So thoughtful.
So, and that way, everybody is able to find, there's always going to be some kind of beat that you should be able to find in all of these tracks. So that's how we do it, and it's always funny on what people are gonna get.
Yeah.
But it's always good feel music. Now the competitors may not like it, but the audience is just like,
right. Yeah.
I'm jamming.
I watched one, and it was like "Hit Me, Baby, One More Time."
Oh my God.
Like, that is fantastic.
You'll never go wrong.
Right. It's awesome. So talking about the competitions and everything, and moving into what your life looked like pre-COVID.
Okay.
I know.
Yeah. So long ago.
It feels like forever
It
ago.
really does. It feels like last year.
Yeah.
But it was just a few months ago. I was readying myself for this full, healthy serving of Crystal's gonna get her life this year. So we'd already scheduled all of our shows for PSO. We pretty much can plan shows from 6 to 8 months out. So I was already readying that on my calendar on which ones I'm gonna go to, which ones can other people go to if I'm not available. I had plans of doing carnival because that is my theme, playing mass. I had just come from Trinidad and Tobago's, Trinidad's carnival in February, so that was amazing. So I was stoked. I'm like, okay, I'm gonna go to London and I'm gonna go to Miami. If I can afford, I'm gonna try to get to Toronto for Caravana. And then, if I can afford anything else, I'm gonna try to go. Getting ready for our homecoming. So it was just a slew of things. I was already building workshops and residencies, which is a big thing this year that a lot of studios didn't realize that I had to offer. And I'm like, yeah, we can be anywhere from 5 days to a month.
Okay.
In a city, and I'd come in, work as a regular instructor during the week, and then I just need you to promise me a round of workshops.
That's really
to make sure I balance.
That's really cool. I hope you get to do that.
We're gonna do it again.
That's a really great idea.
Yeah, and again, it gives the the instructors at the studio an ability to just breathe, because we do get burnt out.
Right.
I get to offer like a free workshop for those instructors, and they can ask me anything. We can do anything, whatever it is. They have that time.
That's awesome.
To work with me on that aspect.
Wow.
That's free to them. It's and it's donation based, so if they want to give, they can. If not, I'm like, it literally, because I'm coming in taking some of your opportunities to teach and make money, so the least I can do is offer you something for free. And it gives me more time to just hang around a city and just get to know the clients more, to, venture out into the city, get new inspiration.
Definitely.
And then, of course, that also renders privates and just
Right.
more conversations, extending the network, and that's what is most important to me.
That's really interesting.
Yeah.
So then it's like, what, mid-March, COVID hits, and everything shuts down.
Yeah, because I was supposed to be on my way to LA for a PSO
Okay.
show. That got shut down, and we were like back and forth. Okay, it's happening. Okay, I don't know. Oh, okay, it said it's 100 people. Okay, I think we can make 100 people work. They dropped it to 50. 50 dropped to like, we don't know.
Right.
And like, oh, they said 10. What are we gonna do, friends? How do we make this work? So, and then we were just like, okay, we're not going anywhere.
Right.
And
So then you're back in Houston, and pretty much no one's able to go anywhere at this point.
I mean, Houston was still kind of low-key open, but,
Okay.
Texas is a republic, and we're damn near our own country still. So we were a little slow to,
Okay.
to close shop.
Yeah.
But we stopped around 2.5 weeks in March.
Okay.
Because it was too many questions.
Yeah.
Our owner is a nurse, and she's like, it's not even in Houston yet. I would rather protect the integrity of the studio, but most importantly, our clients, because I would hate to see what this looks like and be the source of, the reason why somebody could not come back.
Right.
Not just to the studio, but in life.
Right.
So
Crazy.
we ventured on to virtual, and luckily there were studios that were already starting that conversation.
Okay.
I think we saw like studios on the East Coast, but definitely overseas we saw it happening.
Right.
So it was like, okay, so this is happening. This is what everyone is doing. Let's go ahead and just start this conversation.
Okay.
See how it goes. We did a free week of sampler classes, and it went really well. So we were like, bet, let's just stay here. Let's stay connected. And we offered our Red Room Talk, which is our community talk within our clientele. They get to see the instructors online, and they can ask us whatever. And this is how we stayed in tune with them to be like, look, it's a family thing. We got your back. Let us know if things need to change, especially if it came to like funds and jobs. We're pretty much open and honest here.
Yeah.
And I think that's what's keeping our doors open,
Right.
virtually, and even into this phase one, where it's just like, all right, we're trying to hold ourselves accountable for what we're doing, but most importantly, we're staying connected to you guys, because we are literally all going through this, and we want to make sure you all stay empowered and encouraged with all this time. So yeah.
And so what else are you doing during this time to make things financially work?
So it started off really well with a lot of virtual showcases.
Okay.
I was doing free Fridays on Instagram and Facebook Live, and people were offering donations there. And I wasn't asking at first. And people were just like, tell us your information. And I'm like, okay.
Yeah.
So that was good. I had some studios reach out to me to do some workshops. And of course, all those price points start to change.
Right.
And those who didn't necessarily change, I'm like, yo, you gotta get back to business. Start to think about what they're going through and be mindful of our clients, because they want to learn from us, but we have to be, okay with dropping those prices. And that was totally fine for most of the people I was talking to. So that was good. And then we started to do our classes here again, all virtually. I have the ability to come into the studio to host that. And I like it for the simple fact that it provides familiarity back to the student. So they have this normalcy of just like, I'm not in the studio, but I'm in the studio, so I can remember what that space looked like and like see that energy. This is how Crystal would look like in front of me, being crazy. So, just went to virtual, and it's been fine. It's taxing just as much as it would be coming into the studio and creating and spotting, but it's hard to not like feel the client and be able to really give them those tactile cues that could really get them where they want to. But it has forced me to be a lot tighter on my verbal cues and nonverbal cues.
Right.
And that's been helpful. But because I'm a master of modifications, it's always beneficial for me, or either I've been pretty strong at it because I'm used to people not getting it on the first time, and I'll continue to talk to them in such a way that they can understand the movement in their body. And if they don't get it, if it's not happening today, then I'm gonna remix it until they do.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you're sustaining yourself still.
I'm here.
You're here.
I'm here.
Yeah.
I mean, luckily I live with like family.
Okay.
So that's also.
Yeah. Hey, keeping expenses low. I tell you what, I'm right there with you. Mm-hmm. And you actually support a couple of brands. Is that correct?
Yeah.
So let's talk about Black Girls Pole.
Hey.
Can you talk about your relationship with them and how that started?
Of course. So Delijah Franklin is the founder of Black Girls Pole. She's based out of New York. You normally see her at Body and Pole. And when she first brought this idea to a handful of us, and most of us were like, you would say the OGs, when she brought this idea, it was really about the lack of visibility, which is kind of where we're at right now in this day and age. And she wanted to see more people who look like her in the studio. And not just seeing us physically, but to actually have these conversations about health and wellness, and not just in the working out aspect, but like in a holistic aspect of it. Like, how are you spiritually? How are you mentally? Like, this space has the ability to provide you either these passages to escape or these journeys towards wellness. And she was like, they just need to see us. We out here, but we're not everywhere. So it's time for us to make a mark on the industry and plaster ourselves around it. And it's not all as a fault of the industry. It's just kind of what was happening. Like, we weren't recording ourselves, or when we would post, the algorithms weren't necessarily throwing us to the front. So we had to make more of a dent in the market and forcefully, come out with our fists up and our afros out and saying, like, we in here to fuck shit up. So hey us. And it's been
or
good.
Cheer for you.
Or cheer for us, support us. We're like, here.
Black Girl, Black Girls Pole is by far my favorite showcase at PoleCon.
Yes.
It is the best. There's nothing better than that showcase. Seriously. How did you begin? You already had a relationship. Yeah.
At this point, I think, what was it, in 2013 or 2014, I won Pole Less.
Okay.
With Era, which was an extension of some instructors at Body and Pole.
Yep. Super cool.
Right, in LA. So that's when PoleCon had went to LA. And I think that was Delilah's first time really seeing me.
Okay.
I think she saw like what I did with Strange Food, but she never really experienced me.
Okay.
I came back to New York to do another show to like pass on the crown to the next person. And that was her first time seeing me super close. And she was like, you are crazy. She was like, I love you. I don't know you. And I'm like, yay, finally. Because, she has the illest, resting bitch face. But she's a super sweetheart. So to be able to, like, have her see me, I was like, okay, I got a new friend. Yay. And then we, built a relationship. And I just felt honored for her to even open that door and even ask me or consider me for, like, let's have this conversation about how do we become more relevant in this industry. And it blew up from there.
It has. What types of things do Black Girls Pole do? I know it's an Instagram page, and I'm just gonna let you.
Oh no, that's fine. So of course you can find us on Instagram at Black Girls Pole, and on the webs at Black Girls Pole. What we do is we offer a page, a resource page, so you can find Black-owned studios around the world. If you have a new one, or if there's any changes with management, and it belongs to us now, then let us know. We can throw that information in there. We've offered a page on Facebook for Black women to just discuss what's been going on in their studios, to just release some air, to ask questions about what kind of pole, can somebody help me explain this move? Let's connect, because I see you on grams and I just want to, build a real relationship. Let's have conversations about strippers and not to strip, and what does it look like? How do you explain this to your family? So every bit of the gambit, we're having those conversations in our own space. We host showcases. We just had our 5-year anniversary in New York. with Elijah. That was amazing. She also offers retreats and international retreats. So she does some in the States, especially for those who are novices. And now she started to, since the retreats have been so popular, now she's starting to change the way the retreats look. So not only are we venturing to other companies on land and sea, not companies but studios on land and sea, she's separating, okay, power and performance and sexy and flexy. And all those things. So trying to cater to those who really want specific type of movement, she's curating those experiences. And while we're out there learning, we're also having fun and learning more about the places in which we are. So she creates cultural experiences as well. So it's something fun and silly, you know, like a boat ride or, you know, a rum tour. But she's also going to find a way to get us connected to the island so that, or wherever land space that we are, so that we're not taking advantage of them. We're not just coming in as tourists, but we're coming in as people who want to learn and actually make a mark on that particular island or state or country, whatever it is.
Yeah.
So we do showcases, we do retreats. We do highlights online. Delilah's just done some podcasts to just help people be more informed about her and other performers and artists.
Her podcast name is...
what is it?
I'll add it in the show notes. Yep.
So yeah, Black Girl Fit, and then she'll do some literally on Black Girls Pole to talk about ambassadors and other people that we want to know about that we're not necessarily privy to. So if we were getting ready to go to Brazil this year, I think it might not happen because of COVID, then we'd be able to talk to our Afro-Brazilian sisters and brothers. Same thing, you get to meet our Bermudians that we've been with for, this would have been the 3rd year, and so on and so forth. So just to get people, again, more visibility out into the atmosphere that we are out here.
Yeah. And how has your experience been different as a Black woman in the pole industry?
I feel like I am unseen, yet I am, in some aspects, a token. It's not always bad, but it definitely can be nerving at times. So for the most part, you're always going to see me perform with an afro, and that's intentional. One, because I don't want to be dealing with wigs and shit in my hair, but I want people to see themselves in me, and seeing me in my most natural state tends to welcome those who look like me into the space, and they feel less anxiety or have less concerns about themselves in this space. So that's a definitive that I'm always having. And then being such the performer that I am, who does not give in to the status quo of movement and theory, people also think that that's to a benefit, because they see that I really don't have to do everything that everyone else is doing. If I'm comfortable doing this, then I should be okay with being in this particular lane. The downfall of that is because I don't look like the majority, because I don't project myself like that in my social mediums, I do get thrown to the wayside. But those people that we know most of are like, y'all don't know Crystal? She's amazing. I don't know why she's still an underdog, but she's a force to be reckoned with. And they're like, you're too humble for that, Crystal. And I'm like, no, my time will come. I'm like, whenever it's time to show them the truth, I'll show it. And most importantly, I need you to be my mouthpiece. I need you to do the work and say, if you want somebody who can offer you this, look no further than Crystal. So those are, it's a catch-22 in many instances to be the type of person that I am. And I do have to speak for Black people sometimes, and it's unfortunate that I have to do that. So I'm very mindful of when I do and how I do, or how I have conversations with people. But I'm also very mindful in telling them or challenging them to think differently about what people like me have to offer. So exposing them to different, organizations and movement artists around the world, like it's rewarding, like I said, as well as nerving. But I'm here to educate. I mean, I'm trained in communication, so I'm willing to have that conversation as long as it is healthy and we're going somewhere.
Right.
If I hit a wall, we hit a wall, and that's all we can do.
Right.
But
yeah. No. And I just want to keep sharing more because I really feel like the more we know, the more we see.
Totally.
So yeah, thank you for sharing that. I have always really admired you. I started back in like 2013, and I remember like watching Miss Pole Dance America and just being completely like enamored by you. And like there was a moment where you got up on the table and like you put your leg up.
Oh gosh,
that like is burned into my brain. And then of course the 2013 performance, and then your 2017 performance at Black Girls Pole. Like you have always been for me. I'm such an emotional person. I'm sorry. But like such your energy has always spoken to me, and I don't know, you just have this way about you that exudes from you, and it's always made it easy for me to like connect to you.
Yeah.
So thank you for being you and for everything that you do for this community. It breaks my heart that there are tokens, and yeah, I don't know. I'm just...
and it is what it is. It's funny because it's hard when you've never had to be in this space before.
Right.
Yeah. But the reality is everyone at one time in their life has been a token. And what we want as artists, as everyday people, as leaders, we just want people to understand what it was like to be in that space. Right. And then be able to be about humanity and try to make sure that shit does not happen again.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So a lot of people, especially in today, want to come and like apologize, like, I'm so sorry for this and this, and like, I just wish it was like this. I'm like, honey, I'm so used to this. It's fine. It's sad that it's a numbing situation and that I'm a realist in regards to what's gonna happen tomorrow. Like, it's gonna take, and forgive me, it's gonna take a number of not mishaps, but murders. It's gonna take more maltreatment and injustices for people to get it. 'Cause it needs to get into people's houses. And what's happening right now with the new charge of this new generation and of older generations coming back into the fold, where they may have missed the ones in the past, but they're ready to say something again because new information has hit their house. We're speaking up about it. We're starting to have more and more uncomfortable conversations about what once was, what we're doing now, and where can we go from here. I think we're working towards resolution. It's not going to happen overnight, but if we can continue to force this change and these hard-ass conversations, it's going to get a little bit better. And when people who are doubtful that, the sun won't come out tomorrow, honey, it always does. And you just got to continue to find it. In all of this darkness that we're seeing, there's so much light that is coming from the bouillabaisse of people that's just out voicing their concerns. All these different ethnicities and nationalities are coming together under one umbrella to only say that if we can't find humanity in this particular group, then it's going to happen right back to us. It's just going to be a domino effect. So if we can highlight this one organization, honey, we are changing it for everybody, and we're going to be able to stand beside, stand on the shoulders of, and continue to walk forward so that we're bettering the conversation for all of those living individuals and their, children to come.
I completely agree. The conversations are just so important, and I'm going to keep having them. I'm going to keep having them. I can't, So on that note, I want to get to asking you, what is your favorite performance of someone else? Not necessarily for life, but just anything that jumps out to you.
Man, it's so hard. I see movement all the time.
I know.
Like, what's funny, and this is not to not celebrate those who are already online, but I felt that I've had some of the most moving experiences from those who I've experienced our Black Girls Pole retreat with. So when we were in the space and we were forcing them to do freestyle movement or just curate their own based on where they felt that day, I've been moved to tears just seeing them let go from the very first day that we met them up until the last day. So it's amazing to see that there's there's two young ladies. She's Tinks. And I forgot her handle. I have to give it to you.
Yep, that's fine.
But her real name is Lauren. She just celebrated her birthday. Yay! She's based out in Oakland. She's kind of like the face of Black Girls Pole. She is our marketing campaign. She's the Iron X Queen. And she's a full-figured, voluptuous beauty who I went to the same university with. Well, I'm older than her. Nevertheless, she moves with such vulnerability. And even on the days when she doesn't really think that she hones that, she projects it so gorgeously to the point that once it's over, you know, she'll go back into her ball and everyone is either in tears or there's just resounding applause. And I love to see her growth because I've seen her damn near since the beginning of the BGP retreats. And then recently I just met this beauty. She's Chrome Diva. She's based out of Atlanta. And her spirit and movement is heavy, and heavy in a very good way. Like, it is soul piercing, and it wowed me to see how much power she had, and she's so raw. So even with more finesse, she's gonna continue to be a force to be reckoned with. But even if you just see some of her posts now, you can see the range of movement that she offers. But everything that she's going through now is just an amazing. Is just an amazing journey just since I first met her, and then just seeing, like, you can see all the development and the tools that she's getting. And she's a mental, you know, health provider. So it's even great to just see her be able to go deeper and go in and be able to project differently. So those are two ladies. And again, you might not see them very often online, but those are two moments that we just had at our Kimon retreats. And I was ecstatic, and I enjoy seeing those moments happen when they don't necessarily make the light of day to the masses, but they can still give you the goodness whenever they want that.
Yeah, that's beautiful. And your favorite performance of yourself?
First of all, I still cringe at my stuff.
Yeah, I mean, that makes me feel better because,
all of them are my babies.
Yeah,
it's hard to choose your favorite child because I'm at a different space at every performance.
Yeah. Okay, wait. I couldn't choose one, so you don't have to choose one. I chose 3.
As you should.
There are 3, which I've already mentioned, but the Tropicana, Miss Pole Dance America.
Miss Pole Dance America was Color Purple.
Right. And then 2017 Black Girls Pole Showcase at PoleCon.
Awesome. Yeah, that's
the table. That was like the dopest thing ever.
That was the piece that I did. I took to Pole Theatre Ireland in 2017 and got to walk away with that title.
Okay,
so
well that makes sense.
Yeah. And they were all very meaningful pieces. So Ireland I was going through something very heavy with family, and I needed a way to purge that. And Donny Hathaway had a track that just really portrayed what I was going through, letting go, and letting go of a relationship. And whatever that relationship was, it's just the act of being okay with letting go and just, you know, letting whatever energy that you were connected to untether. Color Purple was amazing because that was an ode to my sister who was battling breast cancer. And I think we were in remission at this particular point. And Sister is dedicated to her. So it was just fun, and that was my first time performing with my friends on stage with the group piece. And I was not Miss Seeley's friend. What was her name? Why can't I think?
Is it Elizabeth?
No, I'm trying to think of the character, but she's the singer of the storyline. It's gonna come to me later. And of course, Strange Fruit always resonates, and it's really interesting to see that come back every year. People will dig it up and say this is such a timely piece. And like when I wrote in my write-up this week, when I put on my IGTV, is that it's unfortunate that this is still a very relevant piece, but I'm glad the rawness, the flawed movement of it, sometimes just incomplete because I was actually crying on stage to get through it. I'm glad that people still resonate with it. I'm glad that they're sharing. And I'm thankful that people are finding that movement is giving them a voice to have a conversation or to tell people, this is what I feel like, this is what it looks like. And for people to share it. I've heard people use this in their dissertations. They brought it to their students at every level of education, even to higher education, to have conversations about movement theory and interpretation, and being a reflection of what life looks like. And even the conversation of how pole is not a monolith. It can have many voices. So if you're not ready to see a pole movement with a woman or a man who are their most carnal and natural selves as humans in this space, then you can see it in an artistic or abstract form. There are no boundaries with the voices that we want to offer to pole. So I do appreciate that Strange Fruit continues to be that conduit.
Yeah. Any other performances of yours that jump out?
Oh, I did Joey at Pole Expo. And I love that piece because it's honest, it's dainty, it's very feminine.
Okay.
And it's just pretty. I remember Suwasid saw it and he was like, that's when he literally uttered the word, "You were such an underdog." But he was like, you were so everything and more, and people need to see that. Because everyone else on that All-Star Showcase was giving you all big moves, and I decided to give you just a breath to show you I can fuck with y'all. But it was so much considerable restraint and movement. So it was easy, it was fluid, it was unexpected movements that was happening, and people saw the space. They weren't just in that theater. They could take you to a park bench on a sunny day when the flowers are bloom in springtime, and having this relationship with this individual. So I love that people can tap into that. We don't talk about very much, but I also need to upload it. But I do remember.
Oh, it's not on there?
No, okay. I'm actually just gonna go through a haul of just throwing all my other stuff. And then one more memorable one, which is really funny, is a Led Zeppelin track, and it's hard to post. I tried to do it on YouTube, but Led Zeppelin is flagged. Yeah. It's my drunken piece.
Okay. I need to see this.
Oh, God, I have to see the leak. But what was so amazing about it is when Shay is like my editor, so I'll send her my pieces, because Shay's actually more technically trained in dance than I am.
Okay.
But she is not a competitor because she's over that part of life. But the conversation that we always had is that we see people play the drunk role, but they are inconsistent in their drunk role. So I was like, well, the most adamant I'll be, because it was in a small venue with a bar, and it was, dive-ish, had the dark light, so it really felt like a bar, and it, bluesy, and no one was gonna go that hard. So as somebody who was giving up her crown, I'm like, let's have this nice interaction with the audience. This dude was really not trying to not talk to me anymore. And I'm like, the song is playing, boo. Almost kicked him, get him out the way. But it was, I had the most drunk time. I think I drunk one of the judges' drinks. I tossed one of the other judges' drinks off the floor. I think I pushed a girl. I think I was flirting with a random ass guy in the audience. People were just like, who the fuck is she? And then I finally get on stage, they're like, oh, this is a thing. But again, it was all about the consistency of playing a drunk chick on stage. And everyone was like, that was the most believable piece of shit. That was me.
Yeah.
That was me, or will be me by the end of the night. So
okay,
yeah,
I need to see this.
Oh,
that sounds incredible.
Yeah.
And what year was Joey?
Child. You'll definitely find it on YouTube.
Okay.
You gotta look for like Pole Expo
Gotcha.
and Crystal Belcher.
I'll do that.
But it might have been like 2015 or something.
Okay.
2014, 2015.
And how can people connect with you?
You can find me on the gram.
Yes.
Pretty much anything, you can find me as Crystal Belcher, and Crystal with a C, and Belcher, one that belches, guys. It's really easy. Just belch, add an ER. That's me. On Instagram, it's the CDB, so ITSTHECDB, not CBDs, not drugs. On Facebook, you can find me as Crystal Belcher, and then my athletic page is Crystal Styles Belcher. I am on Twitter, but back in the day, they effed up my Twitter account. I'm on there, but I don't have the same type of following. I haven't really built up my YouTube page. because most of my audience is on Instagram, so that's where I
Right.
pretty much shoot most of my information. And my website should be up. I just got to give my web designer the information so he can stop cussing me out and me throwing money at a website that's not open.
Awesome.
Yeah.
I will include all of that. And again, thank you so much for letting me take up so much of your time.
It's fine. I appreciate it. I'm
sorry.
honored for
Yes.
the time. Thank you so much.
Thank you. And we will see you guys next time.
See ya.
Thank you so much for listening to this episode of the Aerial Hour. If you enjoyed this episode or learned something new, I want to hear about it. Your words and feedback fuel this show. So here are 3 simple ways you can support the Aerial Hour. Number 1, hit subscribe so you never miss a new episode. Number 2, share a screenshot on your IG stories of your favorite takeaway from this episode, tagging at the Aerial Hour. I absolutely love seeing these posts. And number 3, write us a review. This is the ultimate way to support the show, and it will only take a couple of minutes. You can leave a review on Apple Podcast or on our Facebook page. I'll be shouting out a new reviewer each week, so make sure to drop yours in there. I hope you all enjoyed this episode. I'll see you next time.
Totally an excuse to travel if we can. 'Cause we're fighting for it.
Yeah, I bet. Any chance. I totally get that.
Look.